So today is a very great, I think it's a good training days. Namaskar, Nidika ji. Okay. And let me start the session uh, to introduce today's our expert. We have with us Dr. Himanshu Das. And Dr. Himanshu Das is a very renowned specialist in rehabilitation and special education, and he has been the directors for the national institutes in India. We have the national institutes for all the disabilities, like the intellectual disabilities. We have the one national institutes. For the multiple disabilities, we have another institute. Then we have the institute for the visually impaired persons. Likely that we have the around 10 national institutes. So Dr. Himanshu Das has been the directors for those institutions, and he is having PhD degree in special education. And we welcome you, Dr. Himanshu Das sir. And moreover, he is my good friend and he is very good fellow of Manovikas. We are very good. We can say that the family friend, and we welcome you, sir. And today we will talk on the UDL, the Universal Design of Learning, and moreover you can ask any questions. I'll suggest everyone, so whenever you feel any kind of difficulties while you are teaching with the children with disabilities, so if you feel okay, is there any kind of behavioral issues or any kind of sensory issues, so you feel free to ask many questions. That will be very great for us also. So we welcome you all once again, and then we can start the session. Himanshu sir.
Hi, namaskar, everyone. Very good morning to all of you.
So are you able to start your video?
Yes, I'll be starting. Actually, it's raining cats and dogs
Okay.
here. It's
Okay.
a lot of rain. Connectivity is not very good. That's the reason I'm on audio right now. Once the rain goes off, I'll be switching on my video maybe.
Yes, great, great. Yeah.
So you can access now.
It's very nice to be interacting with very young learners. I hope it's a fine day for all of you. Uh, what we are going to discuss today is nothing but what we had been learning so far in the world that we live in, and the way we learn or the way we had been taught. Everyone knows how we had learned so many things since we were born, and every day we are learning so many things. How we are learning so many things, and how we are being taught so many things directly or indirectly through somebody or within the nature's framework of training and learning resources that the nature provides us. Say, for example, we have all learned to run, talk, socialize, be with people, spend so much of time with so many different kind of people, going to school, learning so many subjects, so many skills, maybe sports, post-scholastic activities, debate, recitation, so many things that we have learned so far. So let's see how we actually have learned. Many of us may have actually learned more by, say, for example, seeing others around us. So we may have used the sense of vision to the maximum. So by seeing, many of us may have learned so many things. At the same time, when we see, say, how our counterparts, those who cannot see, they have learned. So those who cannot see, they have also learned. I have so many friends, those who are blind, and they too have learned everything like you and me. That means they have learned mostly by other tr- modalities other than the visual modalities that we see. For example, maybe hearing, maybe touch, maybe by doing some activities. But by and large, say in colloquial language, maybe mostly the blind people, blind students may have learned through hearing, touch, and maybe by doing some activities. Now, let us talk about the children, those who may not have hearing. I have so many friends, those who cannot hear. And in the villages, in the developing countries like India, you have, say, a lot of children, they may not be having hearing aid also, or those hearing aid may not be working also. In such circumstances, they may not be hearing, but they are learning many things. I have many colleagues, those who have got severe hearing loss, and they are at very, very good positions in their life. So they may have learned mostly through maybe hearing and seeing and other modalities. So, in a nutshell, we can say we learn through our different senses. Those may include vision, hearing, touch, smell, or whatever you see. Doing some activities. So, idea is of us may have preferences for different routes of learning. We call them styles of learning. So when we remember our childhood, say if I talk about myself, I remember mostly the things that I have learned through different activities. But when I ask my mother by and large remember mostly the things that she had been actually uh, orally memorizing. It means she was more dependent on her hearing. So every one of us may have different preferences for using different styles for learning. Somebody may have more preference towards vision, somebody may have more preference towards hearing, somebody may have more preference towards activity, somebody may have more preference towards writing, somebody have more preference towards, say, a different kind of a style of learning that may include mixture of any of these two or all of these two, three, five, six different modalities. So that is one aspect that we need to understand while talking about the teaching learning process of children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So all of us, in summary, all of us keep learning 24 into 7 through different modalities, and everyone may have different preference for learning. Now, when you want to put that up in the teaching learning process as a teacher, as a trainer, as a volunteer, or as a peer support group, it may become very difficult sometimes to exactly know which learning style a child is preferring. So under such circumstances, what we do is we use the word universal design. So here comes the question of universal design for, say, number one, giving an instruction or explaining a topic or presenting a topic. So the word here is universal design for, say, instruction or for presentation or for, say, giving a particular topic for learning. So once a learner is specially able, what we advise is to use as many modalities as possible. Vision, touch, hearing, through different activities. Let us try to present an activity or present a topic or present a concept through as many modalities as much possible. If I remember my childhood when I was very young going to school, most of these Indian schools will be using mostly 80% of the time the modality of, say, hearing. The teacher will be talking, and we as students will be only listening. But today, when I see our children going to schools, I see it's not the teacher who is talking. They are engaging in different activities. They are having computers, they are having smart boards, they are having blackboards, they are having so many activities to present a topic. So that's how the learning is becoming better, and learning is becoming more suitable for all learners with special need. Now comes the second issue. So it is after the presentation thing, then we come to the topic of engaging the learners. How do we engage the learners? So again, I come back to my childhood. When I was a child, we used to go to school. Learner engagement was not focused much. Teacher will be talking and we were advised to be listening. It was very difficult for the whole of the class to be listening to the teacher for the whole day. Teachers may be changing after every 40, 45 minutes, but at the same time, all the teachers would be only talking and we are here sitting for the whole day listening. Those days are gone now. Now, if I go to a good school and meet some good teachers, then we realize that all these students today are being engaged into different activities. Supposing I'm giving a nursery class or preschool class. Today we want to talk about, say, apple. So we are giving them the task of, say, planting an apple tree or selecting apples from a group of fruits and then peeling the apple and then cutting the apple and then, say, eating the apple or making some dish uh, through using the apple, and then, say, painting an apple or painting an apple tree, and maybe doing different making a fruit salad by using the apple. So many activities we are giving the learner that the learner is engaged throughout that 30, 40, 50 minutes of class that we are targeting at. So the second issue coming to teaching learning activity is the issue of engaging all the learners as best possible through different activities. After the students are being introduced to a topic, the universal design for presentation is gone. Then we targeted at universal design for engagement of all the learners. So up to this period, it means all the students were presented with a certain concept or a topic, and all the students were being engaged on a certain topic, task, through different activities, through different modalities. So after that, the task of the teacher or the learner is to evaluate the learner. So how the learner is to be evaluated or to be assessed for the learning outcomes, how much the learner has learned. So say, for example, I go back again to my old classrooms when I was a child. So our learnings were evaluated only through two modalities. In the class, always the teacher will be asking some questions and the students have to orally answer. Those who could answer, they are pass. Those who could not answer, they will be fail. As simple as that. And at the end of the year, there will be a written examination of, say, 2 or 3 hours. All the students will be required to, say, write an examination. There will be questions written in a question paper, and all the students will be writing the answers of those questions. So primarily the mode of evaluation used to be in the class oral, and at the end of the course or the end of the curriculum, it will be, say, a written test. Now, when I go to a school, especially at the young level, pre-primary level or elementary level or preschool level, I see that all the students are being evaluated, number one, throughout the year. Number two, through different activities. Say somebody is good at, very good at, say, oral. Somebody may be very good at writing long answers. Somebody may be very good at learning short answers. There may be students who might be preferring a true false kind of answer. There might be students maybe preferring, say, fill in the blanks, might be preferring matching the columns, or might be preferring drawing something, or might be preferring to answer the question or the concept through some kind of a project or some kind of a painting or some kind of a group work. So there are enormous amount of activities through which we can judge the learning outcome of the class. The moment we use or expose the classroom to so many activities through which the student is able to express his learning of the concept or the activity, we label it as multiple modes of multiple modes of uh, evaluation or multiple modes of expression. And that takes us to the third level of the universal design. Then we'll call it as universal design for expression, or universal design for assessment, or universal design for evaluation. Now, coming back again to the three components of universal design, the first component that we discussed was the component of a presentation, through which we tried presenting the activity through as many modalities possible. Those who included, say, visual modality, auditory modality, activities modality, writing modality, or using different senses. The second was multiple modes of engagement, through which we tried engaging the student through different activities. I gave you the example of learning about the apple, engaging all the students by different activities as best possible. And third was multiple modalities for expression, through which we tried evaluating the students or assessing the students' outcome through by using different means. So all the three things, wherever and whenever, whether it is your circumstances or my circumstances or any circumstances, wherever these three things are used as best possible, learning outcomes will be the maximum. Now, when you talk of children with intellectual and developmental disability, because most of the time their mind or their mental age may be lower than their physical age. Under such circumstances, maximum modalities that you use in terms of presentation, activity, and expression will help the learner to memorize or to learn or to sort of express his learning as best possible. So, idea is not to reinvent the wheel, but to understand the natural way of learning by any XYZ like you and me, and focus more on implementing or focus more on using the three concept of multiple modes of presentation, engagement, and expression in the classroom as best possible for learners with intellectual and developmental disability, with the understanding that any of these, or two of these, or three of these, or many of these will definitely help the learner in terms of giving more attention to the task, ensuring those who are having less attention, they will be able to attend to the task. Those who are having perceptual problem, so I am having perceptual problem of hearing, but you are using multiple modalities, so my perception problems are solved. You are using multiple modes of engagement, so my attention problem is solved. I may have problems with certain kind of memory. Say I have problems with auditory memory. You are having problem with visual memory. Somebody may be having problem with episodic memory. But the moment you are using multiple modes of engagement, expression, and presentation, then the memory is also taken care of, and cognition at the neurological level.
Recording
brain,
in progress.
at the neurological level, the brain is sort of making lot of new neural connections. We call them schema. So development of schema happens much more when you use these kind of multiple modes of training or multiple modes of learning. Schema formation also gets helped. The moment you are having more and more schema, and more schema are getting connected with each other, those neural connections that I'm talking about, chances are that it will add to your future learning, and those learning will remain with you for a longer period of time. Now, that's how we talk about uh, all these teaching learning processes circling around persons with intellectual and developmental disability must be able to have these three elements of universal design for learning: presentation, engagement, and uh, expression. And this multiple mode words is a very scientific yet very artistic word, because for a teacher, uh, non-creative teacher, this multiple mode may mean just 2 or 3 activities, and for a very artistic teacher, this may mean a huge list of activities, never-ending list of activities that we see around when we work with children or work with parents or work with volunteers or work with teachers in the teacher training segment. Idea is to practice as many skills possible, taking examples of such concepts in terms of using multiple modalities. It is a matter of practice too. Once you start practicing this word of multiple modalities to giving up a concept, supposing somebody asks you to talk about a, say, chair. What is a chair? Now, how do you present this concept of chair through 101 different modalities? Maybe multimedia, maybe computer, maybe tab, maybe YouTube, maybe I don't know. So many modalities you can use. At the same time, you can be a carpenter and try making a chair yourself. So using multiple modes for uh, engagement as well. Say, let us draw a chair, let us paint a chair, let us make a cutout of a chair, let us really make a chair, maybe a doll chair or maybe a real chair or whatever it is. And then finally, at the time of expression, also using multiple modes for expression. That includes, again, maybe doing an activity, maybe oral, maybe written, or whatever it is. So idea is all those things as best as you will practice in terms of specific activities, your learning will improve in terms of using multiple modalities. So that's the crux of the whole concept of teaching learning for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Also today, we have learned the importance of the teacher, those who are making the classroom more learner centered, number one. Number two, collaborative learning. Number three, cooperative learning. So I don't know uh, which country uses these three concepts more. India, by and large, is learning to use these three concepts while any teaching learning process is going on. Idea is today's learners are different breed of learners. They are exposed to so many learning modalities at their home 24 into 7. So maximum of the time, the learning teaching learning process must be learner focused more, not the teacher focused. So the focus should be on learner more. Learner should be allowed to sort of interact more, question more, engage more. Number two is collaborative learning, where everyone is engaged into different activity, yet learning the same thing from each other, helping from learning of each other, and cooperative learning, where everyone is trying to sort of help each other to cope up with the learning deficits or learning strengths, whatever they have. So these three things kept in mind, learning cooperatively, learning with collaboration, and whether as a teacher or the trainer or the parent or a volunteer, I give more focus to the learner, his choice, his interest, his abilities, his previous learning, his interest into certain kind of activities or his learning style. All these things together can help children with intellectual disabilities to learn more. And also further, uh, for children with intellectual and developmental disabilities, uh, as best possible, if we can use uh, reinforcers, reinforcement, rewards as much possible. Reward doesn't only mean giving them something to eat. Mostly they may be social rewards. So rewarding students, and also parallelly trying as best possible to make task or the learning project or the content as small, as simple as possible. We call it in scientific term breaking down of a task. So breaking down of a small task is called task analysis. Further, those small tasks are further broken down sometime to help the learners. We call them task slicing. If you take example of some physical activities, say when you brush your teeth, you try to break the task into very small activities. And then those kind of learning, if you use in the format of academic learning or any other learning formalities, say you are learning football, so you try to divide football into learning so many steps. So stepwise learning also helps children with special needs. Maybe Ologzi will better prefer maybe asking questions to the students, and maybe we'll try to explain things more.
Sangeeta ma'am.
Yeah. What happened? I was just missing. Yeah.
Sir,
Maybe Alokji, we can invite some questions
Yeah.
or
Okay. 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 Great. Great.
some
So
explanations more.
thank you so much, Himansuda. It was a very, a unique way you have explained about the how we should have the multiple means of learning and engagements. So yes, uh, let me introduce our volunteers first. They are mostly the our school going students. Some of them they are preparing for the colleges, like Abhi, he is preparing for medical things and others. And we have Anushka. Anushka, you can also introduce yourself and tell about yourself, what you are doing, and also share your experiences. And we have the many parents volunteer, means we can say that the more proactive volunteers, because these the parents they understand Hindi, और हमारे जो वहाँ वाले वॉलंटियर्स हैं जो असल वॉलंटियर्स हैं, they have the limitation in Hindi language. So mostly I have seen and observed that the parents, the grandparents, and the other friends and everyone is very much associated. So we have the use network of the Smile volunteers. So please feel free to ask any questions. Number one, and I'll before asking the questions, I'll request you just share your experiences, how you feel about it, what gives you while you comes in smile sessions, what makes you happy in that. Okay, so we can start with Anushka. Yeah.
Um, Hi, I'm Anushka. I am a ninth grader in high school, and I teach math on like Mondays.
And we have
And
very
that's my
sweet
mom.
children. Yes, I'm a
Yeah.
mom. And we have very sweet children in that class that we have become very fond of now.
Yeah.
And we know all their names and we like seeing them every Monday.
Yeah.
Well, Monday for us, Tuesday for you.
Well, yeah, I mean because it's like Monday where I am.
Great. So you have any question?
Anushka is the youngest volunteer in our group.
Oh, great, great, great. Yeah.
So actually, I did have a question. It was interesting listening to you. So one of the things, because we are trying to do math with them, and she uses the whiteboard and she writes on the whiteboard, and that seems to work out very well for things like subtraction. So last time we noticed, we also try and do ascending and descending numbers with them.
But for that we use a text box, not like the marker.
Right, but it's the same thing. We're writing. She writes in a text box. So we're trying different things. Last time we tried to make them read the numbers first, which seemed to go better because when we would just ask them, okay, tell us what's chote se bada, bade se chota, sometimes they would struggle with that. Even though apparently they know all the numbers, but
Yeah.
that the concept, they understand the concept in theory, because we went over it a few times. But when it actually came to the numbers, it felt like it worked better, as you said, if you break it down. But I'm not sure of if you're doing it correctly or not. So yeah, we would love to hear any advice you might have on that.
Yeah.
For Anushka, right?
Yeah.
For mathematics, my experience is most of the time what happens is, unlike any other subjects, mathematics, we have the problem of current level of learning vis-a-vis what we are expecting the child to learn. So most of the time, mathematics is something very, very scientific in nature. The children may not have a prerequisite capacity of learning that particular task. Say, I may not have confidence over, say, meaningful counting more. Meaningful counting is knowing 8 equal to 8 something. So meaningful counting, they may have problem. They may have problem, say, higher number and lower number. So those kind of things, before transferring to Blackboard or so, I would suggest you to get into more activities where they are able to meaningfully sort of do addition, subtraction as much possible. Then we shift to Blackboard or board with the materials, and we go to board with the two-dimensional figures of say balls or sticks or whatever you make. That is one form of things that we advise. And the second thing that we advise is in mathematics, maybe after a few classes you might need, is task analysis for mathematics is a very difficult job. Say I say 21 minus say 11. Doing the task analysis is actually very, very difficult. So identify the number on the upper right hand side. 21 minus 11. Identify the number on the upper right hand side. Identify the number lower right hand side.
Okay.
So that's
Task
like,
analysis is very, very difficult. Now it means I'm asking you to identify the 1 of 21 and the 1 of 11. Target at those two and do the subtraction. Then doing the subtraction is the task, third task. Fourth task will be writing the result below the line, right side line. So you see, just for the small thing of 1 minus 1 and writing 0 below the line gives you 4 tasks to complete. Similarly, if you come to the left-hand line, identify the line on the left-hand top, identify the number on the left-hand bottom, do the calculation or whatever you want to give them, and the result needs to be written exactly below the left line, and after the line that you have drawn for it. So small things, but unless you do this say 8-9 tasks separately and train them separately, they would tend to mix up things. They might write the numbers here and there, and they might do miscalculations. And also before shifting to those boards or anything, you do those tasks in a playful manner with as many some materials objects as much possible. Write the numbers, but use as much materials as possible. So once they are thorough with that, because meaning of mathematics is very, very important. If you can relate the mathematics to a meaningful task before attempting the task, say you have 2 chocolates, I give you 2 chocolates, how many makes it total? Or you have 4 chocolates, you have to give 2 to your classmates, how many will remain? This is something very, very meaningful. The blackboard is not very meaningful, or the board is not meaningful. If you can somehow relate to their life, relate to any activities of their life, especially say if you talk about their birthday or some present or some gift, they become more interested. So those kind of things, if you can somehow bring up and then get them into some kind of task before doing that actual task on the board, I'm very sure they will enjoy. Thank you.
Thank
thank you.
Yes, Abhi.
Hi, I'm Avi. I'm a senior preparing for college applications right now. I'm interested in the medicine field, particularly the neuroscience, which is one of the reasons why I've taken kind of an interest in teaching these students and kind of seeing how their minds work because they're a little bit different from what I experience in my daily life. I'm unlike Anushka, I'm a little bit more focused on the English side. I do conversations with them, and my question to you is, at least when I've been talking with them, it's less about the grammar for me and just more about making sure they can converse with everyone. And as you talked about, like those different modes of learning, which, and then like I feel like conversation is something that's a little bit not as much. So having them do that makes them a little bit used to the unorthodox methods of communication. So I was just wanting to hear your thoughts on how like making conversation instead of grammar and the emphasis on that, and maybe a few other techniques that might help me in terms of unorthodox learning.
For language, my only apprehension about learning a language is more than the disability or more than the special need. It's the opportunity to use the language, and it's the opportunity to hear the language. Most of the time, our children are devoid of both of these two. They get to hear less of the language, they get to communicate less of the language from their very childhood. If you see, look at your life and the life of a special need child, you will realize this through whether it is talking to peer, your friends, talking to your seniors, talking to your juniors, or talking to your family members, or your turn of expressing yourself. So It means both in terms of receptive language and in terms of expressive language, the opportunities are far lesser for special needs children. If you do a study, or we have many studies to suggest the opportunities are as less as 20 to 25% only. So when you talk about learning of any language, idea is we have to now focus more on giving them the opportunity to hear and opportunity to say express. Say today I talk of say talking to you in English. So it's almost 2 years now. I did not get the opportunity to hear English nor speak English. After 2 years, I'm getting this opportunity to hear and speak English. So that's the story of special needs children. And also, we need to understand in many of these children, we need to also evaluate what is their mother tongue or which language they are exposed to at home. We find a lot of students, families where they have multiple languages. Say the parents may be talking in different languages. They might be watching television or watching the mobile or YouTube or using the net in a different language. So that is one area we need to take care of. And also giving them tasks where they have ample opportunities to listen and ample opportunity to speak as much possible. Once the spoken and hearing is taken care of, then the question of reading and writing or grammar comes up. So more focus laid down on those two things, because ultimately everything is neuroscience that you are interested in, no? So neuroscience would prefer that prerequisites are set right. If you do not have proper muscle to run, then you would not be running. The muscle to run is means more to hear and more opportunities to speak. So if you do not have those two things, they may not be able to get grammar very well. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Gauriji and Nidika ji.
सर आपका लाइक हमने सर आपका आपने तो एक ही मोड यूज किया हम सब के लिए आपने कोई पावर पॉइंट यूज नहीं किया you've been talking but you've really been able to engage us and it is really it's an honor to hear you talk about how we should approach these students. I just want to say ki you know your the universal design of the you say about the presentation, about the engagement and the expression, it comes to life when I go back to I actually Avi is my son and I help because he doesn't know Hindi. तो जब हम लोग इन students को पढ़ाते हैं तो I feel that we do okay with the presentation. We use visual aids, we use a few pictures. We try to engage every student. But what comes in, at least English, what I find is the most meaningful is giving the ability to express. When the kids are able to speak the sentence, I can sense how joyful that experience is for them. And you know, simple sentences we keep, but we engage every student. It's 4 or 5 small classroom होता है, but जब वो बोल पाते हैं वो sentence, उनको बहुत अच्छा लगता है, and that gives them a boost and a bounce. And next time they want to speak more and more. So whatever you say is just making so much sense. They feel engaged and they're able to express. But we're only able to use one mode because it's a Zoom call. But maybe we can try to explore more ways of letting them express themselves. I think we can improve on that.
Just to add to what you are saying,
Yes.
ma'am, I'll give you a small example. Me and my mother both lived in Tamil Nadu for 5 years. I picked up only 3 words of Tamil. My mother could speak in phrases in 5 years. Reason being, when it comes to language, most important thing is the need to speak, the pressure to speak, the stress to speak, the motivation to speak. So I worked in office 12 hours a day, everybody would be knowing mostly English or Hindi. So I never had this need to speak. So out of say hobby or out of such enjoyment or whatever, I learned few words to communicate. At the same time, my mother will be dealing with, say, the cook, the gardener, the cleaner, and everyone helpers around, or the drivers. They would not know Hindi or English, so mother was forced to sort of learn Tamil. And that is very, very important, that any language, if you want students to speak or read or write, whatever, the willingness, the need must come from within. So that's a very, very difficult task to be implementing inside a classroom. It's not like a guy from Punjab wants to go to Canada or US and then gets into a English speaking class and doesn't learn anything, because that need has not been felt yet. But the moment the guy is in US or Canada, after 2 months that the guy starts speaking English. So how do you bring such environment in the classroom that the actual need to speak arises in the classroom? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Gauri.
Hi, this is Gauri here. I've been teaching at Manavakas for like 2 years, I think so, by now. I have mix of students. Some are verbal, some are non-verbal, and I teach basic stories. Like I have a book, and I teach stories. The method I see that works with, like for me, like you said, engaging. First of all, engaging with them, and then reinforcing. And I have read those stories so many times now that they also say, "Oh, ma'am, we have this. Though we have done before, we have done this before." So they have. So I just first I read every sentence, then I translate into they're like Hindi, then I say it in Hindi, and the story can go from there to anywhere. We learn colors in there, we learn alphabets, we learn everything. So for me, the class means that I'm giving them some time, and they're interacting and having fun. So yes, I feel that the most important aspect in that is reinforcing. And sometimes I repeat a sentence for like 2 or 3 times, so that it at least some part of it, first of all, registers with them. And then maybe I pick up words from that, and then I say the meaning of that word in Hindi, and then I tell it in English. And any drought, सूखा सूखा कैसे पड़ता है, सूखे में क्या होता है, और फिर उसको ड्राउट कहते हैं, उसको ड्राउट कहते हैं. I repeat it like 3 or 4 times. So they are like, they engage with me, and they are like there was a time I was reading a story for ice cream, and they were all like, "Oh ma'am, itni garmi pad rahi hai, it is so hot." To garmi ko English mein kya kehte hain? Hot kehte hain. So the story can go anywhere. It's not, for me, it is not about the story. It is about how they are engaging and interacting with me, which is a very important point. And then the ice cream, the flavors of ice cream, the color of ice cream. So that is where the class comes to life, bilkul aise, they are like, they just engage. So yes, engaging and reinforcing are the 2 techniques that I think works for me. Yeah.
Great. And I have seen that Lekhaji is here. Lekhaji, you want to say something?
Yes, I think I think today I have learned more than I have taught so far. I think it is so wonderful that everybody is sharing their experience of teaching, how to teach. I'm learning from you guys. I have done speech classes, I have done math classes, and I know it is difficult with the regular children. It is not so much of a more difficult, but it is challenging, definitely. And it is more rewarding. It is such a rewarding process dealing with these kids. And, Gauriji, what you said made a lot of sense. It's not the results, it's the process. I think that's what you were emphasizing, that
Yes.
when you deal with these children, It's not the end result. It's the process, how we take them and how they come. And it's such a fulfilling process. And I think it is great thing. I enjoy dealing with any children. Children are the precious commodity of tomorrow. And you guys taught me today a lot more than I knew. Thank you.
Great, great. And I have seen that Paresh ji is also here. So you want to say something, sir? Uh, so, yeah.
Thank you. Actually, I was hearing on the side, and the question that, when I see when my son and my wife is in the class and they teach, the question sometimes that comes to me is that some of the children have different types of disabilities, and how do you make the class so it is more inclusive to everybody, because you don't really know at what level the disability is, the understanding power, and how do you try to make the class more inclusive so the kids feel, all of them feel part of it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yes, that's the process. That it's not we are teaching them, we are also learning in the process. And it's a mutual transaction. And if we remember that, then I think we are really good. Not great, but good. Thank you.
Uh, Same thing. Sometime it also comes, Himanshu, with me also. So maybe there is a class of 10 or 15 students, or maybe the class of 200 participants, where maybe the big public gathering and all. So how we can find out that my lecture was impacting or not, or my teaching process has gone very carefully for them or not. In my experience, I have seen that the many faces are blank, so they shows कि, okay, हमने सीखा या नहीं सीखा पता ही नहीं चलता कि वो ना ही वो मुस्कुराया उसको देखकर. Even there is no expression after learning any such thing. So as a teacher, as a facilitator, how we can understand कि my program or my efforts was successful or not?
It's very difficult indeed. The most difficult task of today's classroom is basically understanding the whole of the group and giving differentiated instruction to the whole of the group and giving different engagement activity to the whole of the group. That's the most difficult part. But what I have learned is if a teacher is given the opportunity to be with the students for longer period of time, say I get a seminar class only for 45 minutes or 20 minutes, that doesn't make any sense. But when you are given a classroom for a year and for say 5 hours a day, then maybe after a few weeks or few days of being with them through different activities, again learner-centered learner-centered activity, if we are able to do, and if we are able to somehow uh, engage them into multiple modes of presentation, expression of engagement, then my experience has always been positive that within few days or few weeks, you know which of the students are getting more interested in which kind of learning, especially when you give some kind of classwork, homework, and ask them to make different kind of groups. Then we get to know that which of the students are getting into what kind of groups, and give them opportunity to make group themselves. Also gives an idea about selecting the students themselves. They according to me, they also have this idea of which task they are good at. And when it comes to students engaging themselves into small competition amongst themselves, they also tend to group themselves with the students those who are good in a particular domain, say expression through art kind of activities. So they will not take up a student who is good in football in that activity. So if you have some kind of oral thing, they would tend to end up with that group which is doing well in oral. So it's a matter of time. I understand very difficult thing. It's a matter of time. But all of us engaging into students for longer period of time, giving sufficient amount of time for play, sports, dance, theater, music, art, craft, yoga, physical education, and so forth, gives us an opportunity to get to the learner's style of learning. Unfortunately, today's classroom are more becoming more and more academic oriented and competition oriented. So it has become a self.
I have one more question, sir. तो हम लोग का class, most of our classes are online. Be it math that I think Anushka is doing or English that Avi is doing. Do you have any tips or suggestions as to how can we improve the engagement? Because online may there are limitations. There is always that barrier. We are limited in our scope of access. So any suggestions you would have as to how we can improve on, you know, taking into your presentation engagement and expression, how can we get that universal learning into each of those 3 tabs on a Zoom meeting? Any ideas that you think we can
I'll
incorporate?
give you. I can only share my experience here, ma'am.
Ji.
I was director of a special school for the blind.
Ji.
And during COVID time, all my students had to undergo online education for almost 1.5 years.
Right.
Initial first 2-3 months was not very successful. But eventually, something clicked me that preparation for an online class needs to be done in advance. Whatever activities I want to plan, I plan a lot of activities, give students the list of those activities and be with those things and materials before the class. Be ready with the class. With the class, say whether it is cutting paper or peeling an apple or counting sticks or playing with stones or playing a video or doing a worksheet, I was ready with all the things before my class, and I'll share with all those things with my students and share with the parents that these are the things that needs to be ready before the class. And that's how my success of online classes were much better than so-called the mainstream online classes, those were going on in the country for almost a year. And eventually my school won the best school award in the whole country.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We can try to be more and more prepared. Our lessons can continue to improve and we have to be more ready. We'll definitely incorporate that, sir. Thank you.
So anyone would like to say something? No. Yeah. Or koi question, any more questions or any more suggestions? Anything? So let's say thank you to you all for joining, and thanks a lot to Himansuda. We are saying that Da is the brother. Okay, Himansuda. So Himanshu sir, he has been a very kind enough to spare his time. He is somewhere, he's traveling and all. So thank you, Dada, for joining us. And I hope in the next, maybe in next coming 2-3 months, we will come with the new topic. And I understand the Himanshu sir, he has a lot of experience in teaching learning process and lot of experiences in the behavioral issues and all. So maybe in online classes, we are not able to understand the behavior of the persons thoroughly, because we are not observing all through with the environment and everything. So we are just only seeing the face or seeing the activities, but how he reacts to the environment, how the environment impacting to the person's behavior, that also need to understand. So maybe we will come with some new topic that should be related to the behaviors of the students and all. So we will prepare for it. So thank you, Sangeeta ji, for catching Himanshu sir and putting it here today. So thank you all. Thank you our volunteers, Nidika ji, Gauri ji, Lekha ji, Anushka, and everyone. So thank you all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Manshu sir, very, very thank you to you. And we hope we will able to bother you once again with a new. Thank you
ठीक
so
है
much, sir.
ठीक
Thank
है
you,
नमस्कार
everyone.
मैम नमस्कार
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.